Hello and welcome to Season 6, Episode 6 of the Sajin Photography Podcast. I am your host, Jason Teal, and today I want to do something a little bit different. Rather than just talking about gear or problems or complaining about what's going on in the world today, I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm not even going to talk about the perfect sunrise. Today I want to talk about something that honestly really means a lot to me, and it means more to me than probably the people in this class probably know, and that's the photography class that I've been teaching for the last, say about 4 years now. We're 2 weeks into the new term at the Ulsan Support Center for Foreign Residents, and if you don't know about that place, because honestly, it does fly a little bit under the radar. Like, it is staffed by a good group of people who are dedicated to helping foreigners in this city, and they're open to basically giving me a place to have my classes. And honestly, few places around Korea actually do that. And I'm very, very grateful that we have a place, we have a budget, and they're the ones who sponsor the gallery that you've heard me talk about in previous episodes. So this is a great place, and I am really grateful for their support. On paper, this is just a photography class. It's basically, I'm teaching people how to take pictures. But when you actually get to the class and see the students and see how we do things, it becomes much more than just a class. I have been living in Ulsan for probably over 20 years now. If you look at me straight in the face, you can probably see the gray hairs, and you'll know I've been here for a while. During that time, photography has been a large part of my life. My work has been published in places like National Geographic, Travel and Leisure, and I've spent years walking around Ulsan with a camera, documenting everything from the streets of Songnam-dong to the mountains to the ocean sides, and just those small, kind of the little moments that people often may not even see. But teaching photography, that is something that's completely different. And it was something that honestly I've been leaning towards for a few years now. And before you get on into that whole, if you can't do it, you teach it kind of thing, it wasn't that, but it was something that I really saw how beautiful the city is when you look at it through a lens. And it was hard to sort of find a group of people that were sort of wanting to go out and shoot. But really, this class and the atmosphere pulled those people out of the ether. And I really realized that there were a lot of people that were also interested in photography. There are people that were just looking for something to do. And this class provided them with a home base and a core group of people to actually go out and get photos. And, sometimes when you approach places like, if you go to one of those fitness classes and you're kind of skeptical, you're not sure, and you see the people going like really hardcore into something like HIIT or something where they're just using the battle ropes or whatever they call it. Yeah, it's intimidating. And I honestly think that when you get into something as even benign as photography, it often puts people out because they're sort of scared that there's going to be these guys walking around with expensive cameras talking about their lenses, like they're talking about sports cars, like they're talking about chicks or something. I don't know. And I've often saw those guys, and they do exist. And I just, I kind of roll my eyes. The know-it-all dudes that like, they're the ones commenting on like Facebook posts as if their life is somehow amazing, which is not. This class is nothing like that. This class is a good group of people. It's been something that I've really focused on making it as open to everybody as possible. Basically, what I'm teaching is not just about the photos you take, but it's more about helping people see the city that they've never seen in a way that they've never seen before. When people actually get it, when it clicks for someone, it's honestly, I can sit here and tell you that's one of the most satisfying things, where when a person goes from being a little bit shy about sharing their photos to the point where they're saying like, I've taken something that I'm really proud of. And especially at the end of the year when their photos are on the wall, it's a special moment, and it's not something that, I'm standing there with my chest puffed out, like saying, I did this. No, it's something that I just sort of step back from, and I smile because I know that these students have worked hard, and it makes me super happy that they got this photo. And that's really kind of what I'm trying to achieve each and every year with this class. The first class is always a little bit quiet. This year we had a lot more new students. There's a few returning students. The people, they come in maybe with their cameras, maybe just with their cell phones. And there's like a little bit of, they're feeling me out. I'm sort of running through all of the PPT stuff. But this past first class, I guess you could say, one of the interesting things about this class is it brings people from all over. And honestly, that's the best mix that you can have. Some people are beginners. Some people have already taken my class, and some people, actually shockingly, are really good at photography already. And it's just people are coming together to really just enjoy photography and be around other photographers. Now, one of the first things I always tell people in the class is this, that photography is not about your camera, and it's not some sort of weird competition. The camera part might sound a little strange coming from someone who teaches photography, who has a decent amount of cameras, but it's true actually. Most people walk through their day-to-day life without actually looking at anything. We've got that tunnel vision. Photography is about learning how to see. It's about learning how to view the world photographically, as I often say. And the problem is that especially in Korea, especially in Ulsan, we have these blinders on where we go home, we go to work, we go to school, and we really only see what kind of is like right there in front of us. Sometimes you get out to a festival or you go see a movie, but you don't see the beauty all around you the way that, say, a photographer would. When you pick up a camera and you start learning how to see photographically, suddenly you start paying attention to the details. You may notice the way the light shines off a building outside of your lab window at the UNIST campus or something like that. Or you'll see the reflections in the puddle along the Taewa River. You'll notice the way that the mountains look differently depending on the time of day and how they have this like bluish effect as the sun's going down. Photography slows you down. It makes you find these details that you overlook in everyday life. And for a lot of people in this class, especially, this is something that they need. I can't explain the feeling that I can see, but many of the students are foreigners living here in Korea. Some of them are students at the various universities. Some have been here for many, many years. Some of them have only been here a few months. Others have been here for decades. But living abroad can sometimes feel sort of isolating. You're in a new culture, a new language, and it's easy to fall into a routine where you just go to work, go home, and that's about it. And especially for people that may not have a community, they may not be surrounded by other foreigners, coming to this class is something that is seemingly important. And I will be the first to tell you right now that teaching this class is the same. I go to work, I come home, I see my wife, and I go out and take pictures. For the most part, I miss really having people around that sort of get that lifestyle. You have the friends that will often joke about how early I get up or how expensive my camera gear is. But when you're around people that have cameras, they have gear that they're looking at buying, people sort of understand the life of a photographer in that sense. But it's also on a Saturday morning, giving everyone a place to go and just relax a little bit. The main thing is that we get into this routine. And I think especially as you sort of get used to the flow of life here, you do get into a routine. And for me, especially, photography breaks that routine. It breaks the cycle. And suddenly you don't need to go as hardcore as I do, but you want to go outside. You want to capture photos. You want to explore the city. That's sort of the thing that I really appreciate about photography, and it's something that I try to encourage in the class. Ulsan, to be honest, is actually a beautiful place to live, and it's a beautiful place to photograph. It's got a lot of the same stuff that, it might not have the palaces or anything like that, but there's a lot of beauty here. Strangely, well, I mean, logically, I guess, a lot of people think it's just an industrial city. But if you wake up early enough and you go out to the coast or you climb one of the mountains, or for me, just look out the window, you'll realize that there's a lot of beauty here in this city. And it's one of those things that I love seeing happen with the students when they finally realize that they don't have to go to Busan to photograph cherry blossoms. At the beginning of class, they might struggle with finding something interesting to photograph. In about 2 weeks, the city is going to be covered in cherry blossoms. They're going to be sending me these beautiful photos, these street scenes, these little details that they've never noticed before. And it's like someone flipped the switch. And that's kind of the real goal of this class. Yes, we talk about technical things, shutter speed, aperture, composition, the exposure triangle, all of that stuff. But the deeper goal here is helping people become more aware of their surroundings and truly appreciate the beauty that the city has to offer. When you learn photography, you start noticing things that were always there, but were invisible before. Even sometimes friendships, I guess you could say. Another thing I've noticed is that after the 2 weeks is how people quickly start building confidence. The first photo mission that we just went through, people were a little bit shy about sharing their insight, but I could already tell that once they saw how accepting the group is, now they're sort of geared up for the next photo mission. What I try and teach my students is that their photos are their photos. It's not a competition. It's not about, me trying to thump my chest and talk about how awesome I am. I can guarantee you that with enough practice, there's a few students in this class that will probably take some amazing photos. On a professional level, they're just that good. And so it's not about trying to measure up to those guys. It's not about trying to measure up to me. It's just about finding that inner photographer, explaining the thought process behind the photos that you take. So the goal here is never to criticize. It's to help the students grow. And when they realize that they're in a safe environment where they can experiment, they can make mistakes, and they can learn from each other, something really cool starts to happen. They start shooting more. They start looking at other cameras or other styles. They start really just exploring the whole world of photography and exploring the whole city of Ulsan. The best way to get better at photography is simple, really. Just take more photos. Not just shoot hundreds of random shots, but intentional photos where you're challenging yourself, photos where you're thinking about the light, the competition, and the story that you're trying to tell. And that's something that we've already started seeing in the classroom. Students are going out during the week and practicing. They're sending photos in the group chat here and there, and they're asking questions. And honestly, the best part I love is the fact that they're interacting with each other. They're excited about what they're taking pictures of. This means that the class doesn't end when I say class is over at 12 on the Saturday. It means that they're going out and learning on their own, which is a huge benefit for the class. And I don't think people really expect is the growth of the community in this classroom. Photography can sometimes be, especially for me, a very solitary hobby. You go out alone at a strange hour, you walk around with your camera, and you go home and you edit for a number of hours alone in your office or your bedroom or something. But when you're a part of a group, it changes the experience a lot. You start seeing other people's photos and thinking like, why didn't I think of that? Or where is that location? And you start sharing ideas. People start in person, not online, saying that they like your photo. One student may photograph architecture. Another might focus on street photography. Another might be drawn to nature and birds, as we saw this week in class. And when everyone is sharing their photos, you realize that there are so many different ways to interpret the same place and the same city. And when everyone shares their photos, you realize that people are actually enjoying living in Ulsan. Two people can stand in the exact same spot and have a completely different photo and a different experience of this amazing city. And that's something that I think really opens people's minds. There's something really powerful about watching someone discover a passion that they didn't know they had. So I've had students in the past who've kind of have mentioned that they're not really creative, but by the end of the course, they're producing photos that they're generally proud of. This kind of transformation is incredible to watch, and I think it's something where it's part of the engagement of the classroom. And I think a lot of adults go through life without really being encouraged to try things, or really sort of struggling with the idea of sharing something that they've created. But now we're here, we're in Ulsan, and when work takes over, I think creativity sort of kind of takes a backseat. But right now, because we all have the ability to take pictures, photography gives people permission to be creative again. It gives people a reason to experiment, to play around, and look at the world differently. And honestly, that's something that we all need a lot more of. For me personally, teaching the class, it reconnects me to why I started photography in the first place. When you've been doing something for as long as I have, you know the techniques, you know the gear, and sometimes the excitement sort of fades a little bit. But when you're teaching beginners and you're hanging out with more experienced photographers who are just taking the class to meet people, that excitement pops up again. When someone takes a photo that they're generally proud of, when they're excited to share, it really means a lot to me. And these moments remind me of why I started photography in the first place. Back then, when every photo felt like a new discovery, every new place or new season was something that you would get excited for. So it forces me, teaching this class, to sort of slow down and think about the fundamentals again. So here we are, 2 weeks into the class, and I'm really excited now to see where this goes. There's a good group of people again this year. Over the next few weeks, we're going to dive into more of the storytelling, composition, and how to approach different types of photography. And of course, we're gearing up for our first photo walk. So hopefully by the end of this course, everyone will be walking away not just with better photos, but a new way to sort of see the city of Ulsan. But the one thing I want to finish off with, especially if there's any students of mine that are listening to me drone on and on about the class that they will end up usually popping into at the end of the week, do your photo mission. No, what I want to sort of say is that the main thing that makes this class work is the community and the students that come to the class each and every Saturday. It's because of their effort, but also because of their friendships with me and the other students that really brings this class together. And over the last 4 years, I've seen a lot of students come and go, a lot of students stay. But the big thing I noticed is that everybody sort of comes together in this class. It's much more than just a photography class. It's a place for people to come, share their culture, and just be relaxed for a couple of hours out of the week. We laugh, we joke around, we eat some snacks, and of course we talk about pictures, we celebrate new gear purchases. It's really a place where I think for a lot of people, they just come to have fun, whether they get a photo of something interesting or not. They're just there to be with people. And I think like that's what really makes me excited about teaching these classes, is seeing these friendships emerge, seeing the interactions between people. And, over the years, like some of my best memories have been just the food photography classes where people bring a piece of food or some food that they really like or from their culture, and they share it with everybody. And it exposes different people to new foods, new way of photographing it. It just really brings everybody together. And I think like that's the most important thing, is that the class itself is something that brings people together. And I'm just happy that we have a space to do so. I guess in the end, to be honest, what I'm teaching is not just really photography, but it's also about sharing your creativity, sharing yourself with a group of people that you probably wouldn't have interacted with without this class. I guess the main thing is if this helps people take good pictures, I'm excited. But if it helps bring people together, That's what really matters to me. And at any rate, thanks for listening. I'm going to try posting more of these little discussions here and there. And if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that, for lack of a better term, I'm kind of full of shit when it says that I'm going to be putting out a new episode. Just bear with me. I'm trying to find the groove again and get back into regular podcasts. But with that being said, I'll see you next time. Enjoy the spring here in Korea. And if you have any good shots, share them with me. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.